Hi, my name is John McLuckie and I'm a professional hypnotherapist that specialises in past life regression and a form of hypnosis called QHHT. I'm very blessed to be one of only two males to be certified at the highest level, the level 3 qualification in QHHT, so I'm very, very blessed. And I just want to talk because I had an amazing hypnosis session with a chap that is he's very much here to raise the vibration of the world. He's a very beautiful man on the inside and the outside, fortunately for him. So what he wanted to work on was he had some pain in his neck and his hip area, around the back of his hip. And he had a car crash many years ago. So he had been to many therapists, but it was still just lingering, and he didn't really know why, because everything seemed to be fine. So he wanted to go deeper into his consciousness and find out what's really going on there. And so his session was remarkable. It was so much fun, and it's such a privilege for me to facilitate these. Because I never know what's going to happen. It's always wonderful and it's always super interesting. So in his particular session, because he was pretty open-minded, he actually saw a guide of his, and it was an elderly Aboriginal man, and he was just on the land. So he was, this is all in his mind's eye. So he saw the Aboriginal man, and he was pointing somewhere out into the distance, and it was way out into the distance. So the client said, I feel like going over there and having a look and exploring. So in his mind, he was actually flying over there, and he was going so fast. And he actually realized that it was a pyramid, and it was a massive pyramid, absolutely huge. And he was exploring around the outside of it, and he flew up to the top, and the top of it was made out of gold, pure gold. And then he came back down, and he said, there's actually an entranceway. So I asked him, what did he feel like doing? Because in my sessions, I'll never ever make anybody do anything that they don't want to do, anything that makes them uncomfortable. They just have to tell me, and I won't make them do anything. But he was really, really curious, so he wanted to go in and have a look. So he said there's actually a hallway, and it's a huge passageway. He said it's really, really long, and he said there's an entranceway to the right here. And I said, well, what do you want to do? And he said, well, I feel like going in and just having a look. I said, well, that can't hurt, I suppose. And so he opened it, and it was this bright energy. And he said, I've got a feeling like that's a portal. So he sort of came back out, and then there was another entrance on the right-hand side. And he said, oh, this entrance is different. It's really, really dark. He was like, oh, there's a torch over here, and we're going to go down a set of stairs. So he went down this set of stairs, and it was really, really dark, and it was gravelly, and it was rocky. And he said, this is so long. He's like, I can't believe how long this passageway is. And so he goes, oh, I can't be bothered going to the end. But then something drew him, and he was at the end, and he said, oh, there's another pyramid there. And he said, my intuition is telling me that's the Mayans. He said, this was the connection to this, where I am now, and where the Mayans were. He said, there's a direct tunnel to it. So that was super, super interesting. And then he came back out. He came up the stairs again. And then another door appeared. And so he was standing there. And he said, I'm just going to put my arm in there, because it was this white light. He said it was just really, really so bright. So he put his arm in there, and he was actually moving in my chair. And he went, oh. And I said, what happened? And he said, I can see my skeleton. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So once again, I asked him, well, what do you want to do? And he said, I'd really love to go in there and to have a good look. So I said, yeah, of course, go in there and have a look at your skeleton. And so what happened was he was looking at it. He couldn't find too much. He said, it looks pretty good from where I'm sitting, my perspective. So what he did was he actually disengaged, so he was looking at the skeleton. And then when he looked at the skeleton, he said all this energy was around him. He said the energy just feels like electricity. And then he got drawn to his hip, his right hip, and he was like, oh, he said, it's slightly out of alignment. He was like, I can see it, but now that I'm focusing on it, it's so clear. And then what happened was the energy went into the hip. And as he was lying in my chair, as the energy was going in, he said I can feel the energy going up through my left foot. It's going through my left knee, to my left hip, over to the right side of my hip. That was in my chair. And he could see it actually going in through the skeleton. And as it got to the hip, it was blocked, it was circulating. And then he said, I can feel it in my hip, I can feel it in my hip. And then all of a sudden, he said, it's stretching. It's like, I can feel it pulling. And I can actually see it's pulling, and he could feel it simultaneously in his right hip. And then it just went bang. And he's like, oh my God, that feels amazing. And then the energy started flowing down. And then it went into his knee, into his right knee. And he had an accident as a child. And so the energy was getting stuck in his knee and the skeleton, but he could actually feel it going down into his knee. And it was healing his knee as well, that he had no idea was the problem. And then the consciousness of the energy was saying, this is where the problem actually started. It started from the knee, and then when you had your crash, it moved to your hip. And then because that side of your body was pushed down slightly and twisted, it's causing the neck problem. And this is the consciousness of the energy that was telling him that. And it was just amazing. And then, so what happened after that is he could actually feel it in his muscles as well, in his quads. And he goes, oh, I can feel it stretching. And then he sort of tensed over like this. And he said, what I'm seeing on the skeleton is the muscle from the front of my hip going up to, and he pointed somewhere in his stomach. I'm not a doctor or a physio, so I don't know the terms of the muscles or anything like that. But he said that one is really, really tight. I can see it. It's so tight, and the one at the back is so stretched. And the consciousness was telling him that he's twisted, and it's caused the muscles to twist like that. And so he could feel the energy going there, and then he was sort of twisted up. And then once again, he was just, I can feel the energy going into it. And his hip, I could see his whole hip and his pelvis was turning, and it just went like a pop. And it was such a huge release for him. And he was like, oh my God, I can feel that energy. That energy is, like, he said it was like electricity, but a really, really nice electricity going all the way through him. And it was going up his left leg, going across his right hip, and then it was going down to his knee, and it was going out. So he was getting the flow. Everything was flowing again, and his muscles were just feeling so good. They were perfectly in line and perfectly in balance once again, which they hadn't been for years and years and years. And I could actually see it, and I could actually hear what was going on in the office, which is amazing. And then the electricity moved up to his neck. And what happened was his neck was, he said he could see the 2 vertebrae, and he could actually count the vertebrae. He said there were 6 vertebrae down from the base of his skull. And he said what's happened is there's a little bit of a rubber band, and the two vertebrae look like there's a fin, like bones are popping out, which I'd imagine were spurs technically. And there was a little bit of a bulge in the disc. So the electricity went up there, and he moved his hand, and he was just rubbing it himself, and he said that feels so amazing. And then he just, after about 2 or 3 minutes, he just slightly turned his neck like that, and then for some reason he just went like that, and it just went bang, 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 bang. And he said, oh my God. It was the first time for so long that he had a full connection. All the energy centers were flowing, and everything was in perfect alignment. And it was such an amazing experience. It was so, so beautiful, and he felt absolutely amazing. First time for a long, long time. And it was such a beautiful, so he was in a healing part of a pyramid, which was super, super cool. And then after that, he actually saw his guide again, and his guide gave him such beautiful, heartfelt messages. And then his guide just went, and he said, oh, he's gone now. He's just flown up to the heavens. And he came back, and it was beautiful. So it was such an amazing, amazing experience. And the beautiful thing for him is that in his own meditations, he can always go back into that healing room, and he can always have another adventure. And he can actually, in his own meditation, he can actually go to that first door and go through that portal and go and have a look and see where that leads. Or he can go to that second door, and he can, in his own meditation, and he can go and see the Mayan civilization and go and get so much information about that. So that is why I absolutely adore doing this stuff. It is so healing, and it's healing on not only on a physical level, it's healing on a mind level, but it's also healing on a soul level. So it's all getting all three in balance. Once all three in balance, it's amazing. So if you're really interested in having a session, well then feel free to jump on my website. The website's up there. Or give me a message and look up on my YouTube channel for more session stories, because they are absolutely incredible. So thank you so, so much for listening, and I'd really appreciate it if you just jump on the subscribe button. I'd really, really appreciate that. It keeps me motivated to keep making these, and keeps me motivated just to help raise the vibration of the planet. So thank you so, so much.